Happening now, when will the state's COVID regulations come to an end? Governor Cuomo shedding some light. Plus, we have an inside look at Jamestown's newest fire trucks.
Well, it's going to be another day of scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms popping up and the humidity, but it backs off of the weekend. We'll talk about it next as the news at noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Coronavirus regulations in New York State will be lifted once 70% of adults are vaccinated. That's according to Governor Andrew Cuomo, who announced the new goal yesterday. Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. He says New Yorkers will still be required to wear masks in certain settings, like subways and hospitals, but touted his announcement as a step closer to life as normal. Cuomo aides hope New York could reach that 70% target for adults, which mirrors President Biden's own goal in the coming days, even as fewer residents are getting vaccinated statewide.
So, how do you get the vaccinations up? And the vaccination rate has slowed dramatically, which is obvious. The higher you get, the fewer people there are to get vaccinated. And the lowest vaccination demographic is still the 12 to 17 because they just became eligible. And we just spent a year telling them this is not really about you, it's about older people. So we're trying to get it up in the 12 to 17 group.
Now, the 70% goal is the minimum level that scientists have estimated might be needed for herd immunity when the uncontrolled spread of the infectious disease through the population is stopped. Now, Cuomo says even when New York reaches the target, public health precautions will still be in some settings, like pre-K to 12 school, public transit, homeless shelters, correctional facilities, nursing homes, and caregiving settings. However, he says if the state would lift any remaining health screening, contact tracing, cleaning, disinfection capacity, and social distancing rules elsewhere in New York. Well, while the U.S. sees COVID-19 vaccination rates growing among populations, experts warn that lags among certain groups, including those adolescents, could hurt further return to normalcy. John Lawrence reports for us.
It is no longer necessary to have a state of emergency.
South Carolina, the latest state to lift its emergency orders. The U.S. now averaging just over 14,000 new cases a day. Now there is growing concern over complacency.
As we see cases come down nationwide, a lot of people are asking themselves, why should I get vaccinated? And I think we need to emphasize that rates of infection among those unvaccinated are still pretty high.
13 states have already reached President Joe Biden's goal of vaccinating 70% of U.S. adults with at least one dose by July 4th. Lagging states are primarily in the Northwest and Southeast. Experts warn people living in those regions may be vulnerable.
They are sitting ducks for the next outbreak of COVID-19, which shouldn't have to happen now.
Also at risk, adolescents between 12 and 17. According to CDC data, vaccine rates in this age group are also lagging and hospitalizations are on the rise.
More concerning were the number of adolescents admitted to the hospital who required treatment in the intensive care unit with mechanical ventilation.
Vaccine advisors to the FDA are set to meet later this week to discuss authorizing COVID-19 vaccines for children 11 and younger. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
John, thank you. Major websites and apps are back up after going dark for a bit this morning. The problem appears to be related to an outage at Fastly, a cloud service provider. It supports sites like CNN, The Guardian, New York Times, Twitch, Pinterest, HBO Max, Reddit, Spotify, and others. Fastly says it's identified the problem and fixed the issue. The outage affects dozens of countries across America, Europe, and Asia, as well as South Africa. Well, back here at home, Jamestown City Council says the illegal lighting of fireworks remains a problem here locally. Councilman at Large Jeff Russell addressed that concern during a work session meeting last night. Russell says that he plans on discussing the potential fine increase for those charged with the illegal fireworks usage. The former police officer explains that recent changes to New York State's criminal procedure law eliminate potential deterrents for those who use fireworks in the city.
I don't know what the fine structure is now, but obviously it's not a deterrent. Prior to New York State bail reform, if there was a habitual problem, the police could engage in a custodial arrest, bring someone to jail for it, and make them post bail, which was a deterrent. That deterrent is now gone. An appearance ticket is issued, but doesn't seem to be doing much to help the problem.
The council would need to approve the increase in fines in accordance with the Jamestown City Charter. Well, we thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. Let us know what you think about these stories and more in the comments down below. We always love to have you. Great to see Ed. Good to see Joe, Joanna, and Tina as well. Hopefully you all are having a wonderful day out there and enjoying the beautiful, beautiful weather, although in some parts of our viewing area, a little bit of rain has fallen. Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter live in studio with the details on that. Hey, Dakota.
Hey, Justin, and happy Tuesday, everybody. And we do have some rain falling across the region right now. You can see it from the camera in Olean. You can see the red traffic circle right there. And there's actually showers and thunderstorms starting to build across the west. Now, again, the same thing we talked about, how there's going to be showers and thunderstorms developing across the region. This is that line of showers that came through this morning. But if you peek back to the west, there's a little bit of development back there. Those are those scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms starting to pop up. You'll see them in that last frame right there, starting to pop up across the New York-Pennsylvania line, and we'll talk more about those a little bit later on, but those are going to be the main impact for the afternoon, and because they're going to be slow moving, we could see some very torrential rainfall out of them as well. So if you get a storm, it's going to potentially pour in buckets. 82 was the high yesterday, 66 is where we started the day, 94 and 31 are the record highs and lows for today. So through the afternoon, just another humid day. It's still going to be humid out there. Scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms developing through the day. Heavy rainfall is possible. 76 at the immediate Lake Erie water to 83 inland. Now tomorrow, a little bit better, but the humidity still in play. But then we back it down for the weekend. We'll talk about it in detail with that 7-day forecast later in the show. Justin?
All right, Dakota will be looking forward to that about 10 minutes time. Thank you. New York State Senator George Borrello rallied with his colleagues in Albany yesterday against the expanded pandemic powers given to Governor Andrew Cuomo. Borrello compared Cuomo's powers to a Game of Thrones saga, calling for an end to the COVID-19 state of emergency in New York. Specifically, Borrello says that Cuomo is using his authority as a distraction from his ongoing legal troubles, like the sexual harassment allegations lodged against him.
The rest of the United States of America is open for business, and New York State is still on lockdown from a tyrannical governor, a dictator, that is handling this very much like a scene from a Game of Thrones, quite frankly. He has really enforced his rules, his ultimate law, in order to keep himself in power for as long as he possibly can.
He explains that the state of emergency must be revoked before lawmakers leave Albany this week, saying in 15 months, New York went from the Empire State to a state of chaos. Last month, he announced legislation that would pull back New York's expanded unemployment benefits in an attempt to get more people back to work. The state senator is among a group of Republican lawmakers that have called for an end to Cuomo's pandemic powers for over a year now. Well, state lawmakers in New York have until Thursday to wrap up new legislative efforts this year. Once the major issues under review is parole reform. New York State Capitol correspondent Karina Campabianca with more on what advocates and lawmakers alike are now pushing for. Well, it seems like we maybe don't have Karina's package, but I know one of the biggest issues that they were looking at when talking about parole reform is that in many cases, those who are convicted of various crimes in New York State spend a lot of time behind bars, and many of them are considered to be rehabilitated from the legal system in New York and are unable to, because of the extent of their crime, plea to various boards across the state to be able to be eligible for release. And it actually looks like we now have Karina's package, so we'll hear more from her in this report.
Cannot continue to have a system in which the worst thing that you've ever done is the only thing that you are judged for.
Progressive lawmakers and criminal justice advocates are pushing for parole reforms to pass the state legislature by the end of session. One of the proposals is elder parole. Under the bill, incarcerated New Yorkers over the age of 55 who have served at least 15 years of their sentence would get an automatic parole hearing. If they're not granted release, they'd get another hearing no more than 2 years later.
I have been to correctional facilities. I have seen 60-year-old, 70-year-old, 80-year-old women walking around these facilities with canes, walking around with walkers, in wheelchairs, and I have to tell you, it makes no sense to me.
We want parole justice now. We need it. Make it count. Make this week count for us as Black communities, as brown communities, as survivors.
There's also the proposed Fair and Timely Parole Act, which would allow a parole board to place more of a focus on an incarcerated person's rehabilitation, reform, and risk to society than the crime they're serving time for. Republicans and prosecutors have raised concerns about both pieces of legislation. In a statement, the president of the District Attorneys Association of the state of New York said, if both of these acts are passed, a violent offender or a convicted murderer will be released after serving 15 years of their sentence and being 55 years of age, unless the parole board determines that the offender poses a current and unreasonable risk to society. In Albany, Karina Capabianca.
Karina, thank you. Coming up, the latest drug to treat Alzheimer's disease, what the FDA has to say about it. And later, a behind-the-scenes look at Jamestown's new fire trucks that start to hit the street today. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
Honest John's has what you're looking for. When you want it good, we're gonna give you lots more.
From freshly made subs to the best of pizza and wings, Honest John's has what you're looking for. And now 2 great locations, East 2nd Street and Fairmount Avenue. Order takeout or delivery today online at honestjohns.pizza.
You're gonna get it good at Honest John's.
Have the best summer ever with endless adventures at Girl Scout Summer Camp. Financial aid available, open to all girls. For more information, call or go to gswny.org.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
The Food and Drug Administration approved a new experimental drug to treat Alzheimer's disease. Biogen's medication is called aducanumab and is for mild cognitive impairment associated with the elderly stages of the brain-wasting disease. Now, the decision comes 7 months after all 10 members of the Controlled Nervous System Drug Advisory Committee voted there is not enough evidence to show that the drug is effective. Some nonprofits also didn't think that the medication should be approved, though the Alzheimer's Association supported it. It will take several months for the drug to become available for most patients. Some stakeholders also have voiced concerns the drug might be too expensive. It's not exactly known how much it would cost each patient. It's been roughly 20 years since the agency has approved a new medication to treat the disease. Well, a new Senate report reveals security breakdowns ahead of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The bipartisan report was conducted by the Senate Homeland Security and Rules Committee. It found that Trump supporters had posted several violent threats online in the days and weeks leading up to the attack. The report also says that the intelligence officials struggled with how to differentiate between real threats and protected political speech. It also notes law enforcement officials relied on information on past rallies that remained nonviolent and that they were worried about clashes between groups but didn't focus on violence towards the building in general. The report also concluded that even though Capitol Police were aware of the potential violence, they didn't get that information to all officials who should have known about it. The committee didn't examine former President Trump's potential role in inciting the riot. That was by design due to the bipartisan nature of the probe. Well, a critical month ahead on Capitol Hill for President Joe Biden's agenda. In order to progress on overhauling infrastructure, voting rights, and policing, his administration will need to sway Republicans or risk the bill stalling out. Isabel Rosales in Washington with a look at the major obstacles the president faces, including one key player in his own party.
As Congress works into the summer, Democrats and Republicans remain at odds.
We had a COVID bill passed that wasn't really about COVID, and now we've seen an infrastructure bill tossed about that really hasn't been about infrastructure.
Pressure is building from the left to pull the plug on negotiations. After rejecting the GOP's latest counteroffer on the infrastructure bill, President Joe Biden is expected to meet again with them Monday.
This is just numbers. It's helping the country, and we ought to be able to find a resolution on that. If we can't, that spells trouble.
But moving forward without Republican support could take time and have political fallout. Moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin holds critical political power in a split Senate.
I've voted in a bipartisan way in the last 10 years of the Senate, so I'm doing what I have always done.
Some Democrats accuse him of standing in the way of Biden's legislative priorities.
Joe Manchin has become the new Mitch McConnell.
Following the rise of new restrictive voting laws at the state level, Democrats do not have the votes in the Senate to pass federal voter protections. Manchin is the only Senate Democrat who did not co-sponsor the For the People Act.
I think there's a lot of great things I agree in that piece of legislation, but there's an awful lot of things that basically don't pertain directly to voting.
And key negotiators are looking to finalize a deal on police reform. Republican Senator Tim Scott telling reporters it's June or bust. In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
Isabel, thank you. Well, Apple says its new operating system will enhance everyday life for its users. The tech giant announced the release of iOS 15 yesterday. Officials say the new system will make FaceTime calls more natural and introduces a new feature called SharePlay, which allows people to listen to music or watch movies and TV shows with others simultaneously. It also has new ways for managing notifications and redesigned weather displays featuring full-screen maps. iOS 15 also has a new privacy control system wide to help protect users from potential hacks. Certainly that is a big topic in the news lately, isn't it? We thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. Let us know what you think about these stories and more in the comments down below. I'm glad we got to this a little bit before weather, because Dakota might just be our chief forecaster, but he's also our Apple expert. I know yesterday
I've got all my Apple toys.
Yeah,
here,
you were watching the rollout yesterday, Dakota. What do you think of some of these updates?
Well, the updates this year were not really spectacular. They're more under the hood updates. As a matter of fact, I have iOS 15 running on this old iPhone 6S right here. So it's not out yet. It won't be out until later in the year, but this is the first developer beta that was seeded yesterday. And just in my short time of playing with it, it's not really too bad. There's a new feature called Focus, which will basically, if you're kind of indebted into the Apple ecosystem like I am with iPads and Macs, you can set Do Not Disturb, and it will turn on Do Not Disturb on all of your other Apple devices at the same time. And there's other things in there to help you concentrate on what's important to you. The new weather widget, I really haven't played with that. You guys know my stance on automated weather apps. We call them pardon the term, crap apps.
Right. If you want a weather forecast, you got to turn to people like you who do it by hand.
iOS 15 and iPadOS 15, and the same thing with macOS Monterey. They're mainly just under the hood updates, but there's a new Safari as well. It has a whole new interface design. This is what it kind of looks like here. I haven't signed into my Facebook account, but you can see that the URL bar is now down at the bottom instead of on the top. There's a new tab view on the Mac as well. So there's a lot of cool things coming in the new updates, but they're not out yet. They're just in beta, and I don't recommend running a beta because they're very unstable. So
you learned that the hard way a while ago.
Yeah, we ran on this production MacBook I have right here. I ran the beta of macOS Big Sur last summer, and Big Sur was a big update to the Mac, and it was very unstable in the early days. And I was running it during severe weather last year, and my computer kept crashing. So.
Not a good idea. Good to see Pam. Good to see Brenda.
Don't run betas on a production machine.
No, definitely not. A lot of people just happy that their phones work. And
I know.
That's the idea.
And it's amazing that if you still have an iPhone 6S, it's still supported. It's absolutely amazing.
It's an older model, but
I know.
It still gets the job done. That's for sure. Well, speaking of getting the job done, the
Time
weather
to get to my job.
might be nice for some. I know we do need the rain. You were talking about that last week.
Yeah, we do. Right? And, we're still in a rainfall deficit, but we've had some rain last night and early this morning, over half an inch of rain in Silver Creek, also in Dunkirk, about a quarter of an inch there in Mayville and Jamestown at the airport, only 0.02 of an inch. But we've got some more rain on the way. You'll see the probability of rain here over the next 5 days. So widespread chance today. It turns more scattered tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, but look at Saturday. We almost virtually took the rain chances out for Saturday. And you know what Saturday is? Jamestown's first ever Pride Festival. So here is the updated forecast. Again, early look. We don't have the high quality, high resolution data yet, but this is the early look. 68 at 9 a.m. We virtually took the rain chances out for the morning, but there will be a small chance for a rain shower in the morning. 77 at 2 o'clock, and by the time we head to 7 o'clock, we should still be around in the upper 60s, around 76 degrees. So it should be a nice day at the Winter Garden Plaza for the Pride Festival. So, of course, we'll keep you updated on that as the forecast changes throughout the week. Hey, we've got some clouds starting to build in downtown, and I'll show you why here in a second. We're at 75 as of noon hour right now, light southwest wind of 6, and the dew point up there, 68. That's the problem today. Same as we had yesterday, that humidity is up there once again today. All right, so let's take a look at First Defense Doppler, and this is what we're talking about. These are showers and thunderstorms that are already starting to pop across the western portion of Chautauqua County and back towards Erie County near the state line. As we put this in a time lapse, you'll see these showers and thunderstorms just pop up out of random. They come out of nowhere, and this is why we call them whack-a-mole storms. We can't tell you when or where it's going to rain. These things are just going to pop up at random, so be ready for them. Have the radar handy on your phone and check it off, and you'll see FutureScan paints those showers and thunderstorms popping up. And again, this is a computer model. The showers and storms will likely not be in this exact location, but you're getting the idea of where they're going to be. Early showers and storms taper off tonight, should become partly to mostly cloudy, and even though FutureScan's not being impressed tomorrow, there will be another chance for scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms popping up in random locations tomorrow afternoon. And the problem we've got today and tomorrow is these are slow moving storms. So where you get a storm, it's likely going to downpour. Now again, this is a computer model, so don't take these exact totals to the bank or the exact locations, but you'll see where the heavier rain is. You could see upwards of an inch or more of rainfall. The next 7 days of your life are right there on the screen. I've got 80 on Thursday, but we're still humid. Less muggy Friday, chance for a few more showers and thunderstorms. Saturday looking mainly dry. Sunday not a bad day, but a couple isolated showers are possible through Monday with temperatures much more refreshing. We'll take a break. Be right back.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this. You will find something.
You will find something new.
I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
After much anticipation, the Jamestown Fire Department unveiled their new pumper trucks to the public yesterday, touting what department leaders say are much-needed safety improvements. WNY News Now's Mario Cosentino with a look behind the scenes.
The engines go into service this week, following a 2-year process creating the custom-built 2020 Spartan 4-guy Class A pumpers, which cost over $1 million each. The new trucks, as Jamestown Fire Chief Matthew Kuhn explains, greatly improve firefighter safety, sporting new zip-off seat covers.
These are designed to reduce contaminants inside of the cab, so we have something that's actually removable and washable. Right? Try to keep the carcinogens down that get brought into the cab through efforts of firefighting.
Safety and ease of access to equipment were the main factors in the design process. Another significant change was with the rear hose racks, which were lowered, allowing for quick access when arriving at a fire.
This hose bed is about 13 inches lower than our previous designs, and we have a lower grab rail. So a member that's going to deploy hose from up here, they simply can come up like this. It's an easier step for them, and then they all have everything right at their hands.
He says that this is important in establishing a quick initial attack while fighting a fire.
What that means, loosely translated, is the sooner we can get to the fire, the smaller the fire hopefully is going to be when we get there, so we can extinguish it. The larger, obviously, the fire is, the harder it is for us to extinguish it.
Another safety feature to note is where the ladders are mounted.
Having them inside of here will keep them out of the weather. So if we're driving to a scene on a 32-degree day where there's wet snow, and then the ladder rungs would get all icy, and that's a hazard. So having them in here, this keeps them dry. It keeps them in a relatively warm environment. So when we deploy them, they're ready to go.
Both will replace previous trucks, with Engine 3 going to the Newland Avenue station and Engine 4 to the Allen Street station. For WNY News Now, I'm Mario Cosentino.
Mario, thank you. The full 20-minute tour with Chief Kuhn is posted online now at WNYNewsNow.com. Pretty awesome, and we want to thank him for giving us a nice behind-the-scene look of some of those great improvements. And there really is a focus, as Mario mentioned in his report, Dakota, about safety. And when you think about it, fire engines, unlike, say, an average car, they're not like an easy build. Everything has to be customized. You can't go to a car lot and pick one up, and the lifespan of them is pretty long. This is about 30 years to operate them, and sometimes they'll become like a secondary
like
to
over $1 million.
They spend $2 million.
Something like that. How much did they spend on the two engines?
Yeah, over $2 million.
$2 million. So they're probably over $1 million apiece.
Yes, yeah.
For both engines.
It's crazy to think about, but you know, there's so much equipment that are involved, and like he mentioned, not so much the equipment, because you know the hoses and all that can be moved from one truck to the other, but you know, within there, the pumper and the new idea, I think, of keeping firefighters safe. I never thought about that until watching the report. Is these firefighters will get into these cabs with their jackets on, and they're covered in, you know, flame, dust, and things like that. Yeah. And who knows what is burning in these fires that they respond to, and they sit in them. So now they're able to really take out that seating and clean it, which is great. He's like, you just throw it in the wash. How convenient is that? So it's really, really awesome to see, and we'll start to see them today responding to calls. I can't wait to. We always see them zoom by the newsroom. We're like in the perfect spot. You know, it's one of the reasons. It's our new staff.
We hear probably about, 5 or 6 a day, probably.
Oh, yeah. And there's more than that, because they go, you know, they respond 24/7.
Right.
We'll hear it on the police scanner. People are like, how do you know? We hear it on the police scanner, and then we see them zoom by. and it's
Oh,
it's
Justin, you're giving away the secret.
I know. It's what it is. I mean, we're breaking it down, a little honesty with everybody. We thank you for joining us today. Good to see DS, good to see Misty, and John as well. Hopefully you all are having a great day. We appreciate you tuning in. That's going to do it for us today. Of course, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com and on our mobile app. You can download it for free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. We'll leave you with this live look over downtown Jamestown. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.